Hello, everybody. You can't. Okay, apparently my phone has to be facing up while I'm streaming, and I'm not quite sure how much battery life I have right now, so we'll see how that goes. But to find out. Okay, so if you're tuning in, you know, or if you're watching this at a later date, this is where I'm going to talk about nonviolent communication. It's pretty awesome. A lot of people talk about it as being, well, I think it's communication from the heart. So it's a really great way to learn how to communicate. It's a really great way to learn how to organize your own thoughts and communicate to yourself, because our self-talk really could use some work, right? We're not as polite to ourselves as we are to other people. We already know what we think about us, don't we? So I'm gonna wait, see if anybody joins, anyone else joins, so I don't have to repeat anything, although you can rewatch this video. I will make it available. But having a copy of this book, oh, it's backwards. It's Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. I have the 3rd edition. I don't know the difference between them, but I think the concepts will all be kind of the same. And I won't be reading verbatim. I'll really just be going over just like the basic, the skeleton outline of it, and, you know, things that have happened in my own experience. And then hopefully you'll use the comments to share and to participate. If I get enough people that are actually interested in watching and interested in scheduling like a meeting afterwards where everybody can talk and hear each other, then I'll do that as well. But I just wanted this to be a resource for those of you out there that maybe just want to absorb something right now. You know, it's kind of a first level thing. So I'm going to start with chapter 1. It's called Giving from the Heart. And in this chapter, it's basically, there's 4 principles of nonviolent communication. And that is observing, feeling, need, and request. So how that looks is, and the observing part's really hard, and that's the segue into chapter 2. But observing is saying, Denise, when you smile like that, I imagine you might feel happy, or I feel happy when I see your face turn into a smile, and that meets my need for connection, or that's positive use of the principles. But for example, negative use might be, well, this might be better if I use an example from my own life, because I haven't like really practiced anything. I guess so that's going to be a little bit different than when I have people that are asking me questions. It makes it a little easier to respond versus like having something set up with a flow that I'm just going to talk out loud to you with. So the 4 principles would be something like, actually there's an example in the book about a mother whose son throws his socks on the ground, and she says to her son, when I see dirty socks on the ground, I feel frustrated because my need for order and cleanliness is not being met. And then it's followed by the request of, would you mind picking your dirty socks up and putting them in the laundry? So that's NVC. It might sound strange and foreign, right? I know it sounds that way to me when I first heard it. And I'm sure we can think of at least 10 different ways varying between passive aggressive, nice, and not nice of saying that exact same information, right? Like if you weren't so lazy, you could pick up your socks and, it makes me angry when you don't respect me. I mean, we can infer a lot of stuff about why the socks are on the ground, right? But in the end, if we are just observing, we're taking all that blame and guilt off, right? We're not interpreting why the socks are on the ground or why the person put them there. We're just saying, hey, your socks are on the ground. I'm noticing that I feel this way when I see them on the ground. And that feeling is connected to a need. Like that feeling, again, could be positive or negative depending on the context. If you come home to be intimate with somebody and you say, when I see your socks on the ground, like, all right. so chapter 2 will go more into that between observation and judgment. But let's really get that down. So the 4 basic principles of NVC, right? This is the skeleton, the bare bones here. Can you break down your observation, your feeling, your need, and then the request that goes along with that? All right. So when I see this, and please, this is not a cookie cutter language. This is just to get you into the mind frame of how to start, where to start. It's certainly not rigid. It's not meant to be rigid. It's meant to be a safe way to communicate. I'm going to say we all feel it. We all know what it's like when you have to say something that is scary and you don't know, or worse, you imagine that other person isn't going to take it well, right? We've all been there. We all know what that feels like. The knot in our stomach, the anticipation, the anxiety, right? It doesn't feel good. Well, NVC is a way to help you find the words in a way that the person can hear you, that they're not caught up in a reaction of being blamed for something or called lazy, or, that objectivity is really gold. It is magic. So objectivity, when I see this, right? Not when I interpret this, analyze this, judge it, When I see this, I feel this, and our feeling and our need usually are combined. So that's the part that's going to be self-discovery. So that'll be really fun. You're going to learn a lot about yourself using nonviolent communication. So when I see this, I feel this, and it does or does not meet my need. Hi, Janice, for this, and then a request. And a request is different from a demand because how somebody responds when you say no is going to tell you if it was a request or a demand. And I learned that from a codependency book by Melanie Beattie. If you get punished or shamed or guilted when you say no to something, then it is not a request. A request is it is a way to establish a boundary. It is a way for self-love, self-respect, self-care. It is not meant for punishment or blame or guilt. So let's go over those one more time since Janice joined us. The 4 components of nonviolent communication are our observation, our feeling, our need, and our request. So when I see this, I feel this, it meets or does not meet this need, and then a request of how to meet that need, or how to make life more enriched for you. So those are the 4 basics of nonviolent communication. So if you have any questions or you want to add your own experience, keep in mind other people will be able to watch this later as well. So type something in the comments. I'll be happy to interact with everybody who's out there. Once we get a bigger group, like I had said before, we might do like a half-hour version of just like a book review, and then segue into like a full-on video meeting where people can talk and interact with each other. I just want to give people at least some type of overview that they can watch every week and start thinking about it, because it's really fascinating when you start So the homework for the week for all of you out there would be to write down those 4 components and see if you can identify them in your speech and people's speech that are talking to you on the TV, in the newspaper, right? Like, so were they objective? Did they, what was the feeling, what was the need, and what was the request, or cause and effect? I mean, so it starts getting you to break down the language that you're already using, which in itself can be very entertaining. All right, I think I've pounded that into words quite a bit here, the 4 parts of our process. So what we're going to do now is chapter 2. It talks about the difference between judgment and observation. And this, we are just loaded with this in our culture. And not just judgment and observation, but assumption, right? Assumption is at the end. Assumption is what lies at the end of the judgment, right? So again, the example with the mother whose son throws his socks on the ground, and she says, when I see dirty socks on the ground, I feel frustrated because it doesn't meet my need for cleanliness and order. Would you be willing to pick up your socks and put them in the dirty laundry? So let's go into the judgment parts of how we can say that in a really guilting way. I mean, some of you are already hearing your mother's voices, right? The guilt way, the angry way. So that might be like, if you had more respect for me, you'd pick up your socks. If you loved me more, you would pick up your socks. If you weren't so lazy, you'd pick up your socks. Like, those are all not observations, right? I mean, we can clearly see how those would be more emotionally, invoking, instigating, right? Like, the person who's receiving that is going to have some kind of reaction, right? Not a response. They're going to have a reaction. There's going to be some emotional cogs that are turning, because nobody likes to be called lazy. Nobody likes to be told that they don't love you when they do. And, we all understand the feelings. There's a part of our subconscious that's processing those words and the meaning of those words. And that feeling is there, right? So nonviolent communication helps us get people to respond to what we're saying and not react to what they're feeling because of what we've said. Because of what we've said in a very mindless way, in a very unaware way. So observation and judgment. Let's go over the different types. So the first page here in chapter 2, he talks about moralistic judgments versus value judgments. So moralism is like just, and apologies, I haven't pre-thought about this, is more of the good and bad, right? Our morals. I often associate that with religion, right? Not spirituality, but religion. What's right, what's wrong, good and bad. And then value judgments are more about, like, I might like this shirt because it's comfortable and practical, and somebody who wants to look attractive and sexy may not feel that this shirt gives them that value. It doesn't hold that value for them. They want to wear something that's maybe sleek and sexy and contours their body and really, really flatters and shows off their form and their features. So we have different values when it comes to the clothes that we're wearing. That's a value judgment versus a moral judgment. So a lot of times we get into trouble by making moral judgments. And what's great about moral judgments is even across cultures, morals are different. And I just heard a line in a movie that was great. He said, what's bad about lines in the sand is they can always be redrawn. So I am going to do a quick segue here. I think most of us would imagine that murder is not something we value, right? But then we get into the semantics of, well, if somebody hurt your son and you wanted to make sure they didn't do it again, you see what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of circumstance around that. But if we say we value life, that's a totally different, you see how that includes, it's a totally different way to connect, right? And it leads you in a totally different option. Like, totally different options are available in that reality of we value life. Because when it comes down to somebody dying, if you value life, another life isn't going to satisfy that value. Do you see what I'm saying? And it's going to do a disservice to the life that's already been spent. Now you're not grieving for the loss of that life. Retribution is not grieving loss for that life. Honoring the loss of that life by creating something that supports more life. So again, you see how those words are different. When we say nobody wants anybody to be murdered, and then murder again becomes its own definition, but we value life. Valuing life can be a value judgment that everybody can agree on. When we go driving, a lot of the times people don't realize this, but they're putting speed. They want to get to where they're going quickly, and we kind of assume that we want to do that safely as well, but the way people drive, it doesn't feel safe to everybody. So that's another dynamic that I think we get kind of lulled into when we're driving. People get so focused on being on time or just driving quickly. But how would people drive different if their value for safety was at the front? It would be different. So that's why I like nonviolent communication. It really gets you to reorganize and reprioritize, like to see how it is now and how it could be, like with your own values. So we've got moral judgments and value judgments. Okay, so the next one is, so this is how judgment hides. This is all the different ways that judgment, the nuances of judgment. So we talked about observation versus judgment, right? So now we're going to fetter out all the faces of judgment that we use instead of observation. So this is a great homework assignment for this first week, is to go around, again, I'm just reiterating this for the people that have come on, to look at the news. Listen to yourself talk. Listen to others talk. Where are you seeing judgment versus observation? And so these are the faces of judgment. Making comparisons, right? How often do we compare ourselves to other people or compare other people to other people? That's one of judgment's nieces and nephews there, right? Comparisons. Oof. Denial of responsibility, right? When we use language like I had to, so the language that facilitates denial of our personal responsibility for our own feelings and thoughts, right? They made me do it. Oh, here, I'm going to read these examples. Vague impersonal forces. I cleaned my room because I had to. The actions of others. This, I don't really like this example, so I'll do something different. Now I have to think of something different to use. All right, let's see. The actions of others. Oh, yeah, I guess the first thing that came up was, see what you made me do. That's horrible. Like, I see that in the movies, you know, where the abuser and the spouse and the abusee. Or that song that's out, it drives me crazy. Something about, I wouldn't be dancing with somebody else if you had come out dancing with me or something. That's another one of the actions of others. Well, if you had just come dancing with me, I wouldn't have had to have cheated on you, right? Like, that's some crappy stuff. Again, responsibility, lack of responsibility. The dictates of authority. I lied to the client because the boss told me to, right? We hear this a lot in the military. I was just doing my job. I was just following orders. Okay. Group pressure. I started smoking because all my friends did. Institutional policies, rules, and regulations. So I have to suspend you for this infraction because it's school policy. Janice, that one was in the book. So, so take that with a grain of salt, because I do understand that's how the system works. So it's not saying that that's not a reality or a justified reality. What they're saying is, when you're speaking with somebody, it's different to say, I had to suspend you because you hurt somebody, and there's a need for the school to provide a safe place for its students. And there's a need for us to provide you with time to think about your actions. Like, that's kind of the nonviolent communication approach versus not explaining any of that and just connecting at the point of, well, this is the consequence. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's so much less information, there's so much less connection there. So this is about the quality of our communication too. So gender roles, social roles, or age roles. I hate going to work, but I do it because I'm a husband and a father and I support my family. I mean, that could also be a value judgment too. It just depends on the context. And uncontrollable impulses. I was overcome by my urge to eat the candy bar. Yep, that's denial of responsibility. Oh, okay. So we've got comparisons. Denial of responsibility. What's next on our shopping list here? Are you ready? Oh, okay. So demands, right? We talked about a request and a demand. And the difference is, when somebody makes a request and you say no, there's no punishment, there's no guilt, there's no consequence, like negative consequence. And I guess it could be said the same for positive too, right? You see in this culture a lot where we praise in a manipulative way. So then if somebody does what we want, we reward that behavior, right? But we reward it, what's the word? Because when we do something from our heart, it feels good. So in a sense, that is a reward. That's its own internal spiritual reward. But I'm talking about rewards that are in excess of that, right? That are specifically for the purpose of praising, of getting that behavior over and over again. So understand the difference between those. All right. So, all right, repeat back with me. The 4 principles of NVC are: when I observe this, I feel this because it does or does not meet my need for this, and then I make a request. Those are the 4 things. Those are 4 components. And I don't believe you have to use them in that order, but you want to touch on all of those. It makes us vulnerable. It makes us really be present with what's going on with ourselves, right? I gotta figure out what I'm feeling and what I need. And then a request of seeing myself in the situation that's better, and how did that happen? You know, so it's really quite caring for us too. One thing that I like about codependency literature is it talks about us being responsible for our happiness, and it really blends together with needs. What's the need, and how do I meet it? How do I support myself? All of you who are massage clients out there know I'm all about support. How do we support that? How can we find the win-win-win where everybody has a need of theirs fulfilled? So those were the 4 principles, and then we go chapter 2, which is observation versus judgment. So we have the moralistic judgments, the good and the bad, the right and the wrong, good, bad, and ugly. The value judgments, which again are really about, I find that values and needs are also very closely related, right? So the example I used was the clothing, right? This shirt for me has value because it meets my need for color. I enjoy color. It meets my need for creativity because I like, the picture on it. It meets my need for, what's the word? I don't want to say androgyny, but I think there's a time and place to look sexy. Like I can be sexy in the right context. For me, that's what is comfortable for me. But there are women out there that they have a little bit more sexual presence in them, and they walk around, and it's a beautiful thing. Like women in French, they're very French, right? And that is what expresses from them. So the value in clothes is different. But again, that's based off my needs. I don't need to feel sexy all the time. And there's nothing wrong with that. And so it's understanding that. So your values are going to be closely involved with your needs as well. So we're going to know what we need by the end of this session, aren't we? All right, so then moralistic judgments and value judgments, and then comparisons. So this week, look for the difference. And when you see a value judge, and what's even better than that? You can take a moralistic judgment and figure out what value or need may not be being met with that. So if I say, well, let me see if this is going to work first of all. This example with the socks. If I'm saying, well, in that case, I feel like the person would already say it. Because if I say to my son, well, you're lazy, when I see you throw your socks on the ground, or when I see you be lazy, I get frustrated. Then obviously, probably what I'm needing is the opposite of lazy. Somebody who's helping, right? Somebody who's cooperating, somebody who's contributing. But if I say it's disrespectful when you throw your socks on the ground, then I'm probably wanting respect. So, there's some magic right there. So that part is kind of easy, isn't it? So let's come up with examples for next week that have to do with that. Because that's a good... NVC is not going to be as easy as that. So let's give ourselves something that is successful and easy. So we'll come back to that next week. So comparisons, moralistic judgments versus value judgments. This is stuff you're going to be looking for this week. And again, in the news, either in the paper or on the TV, in the way that you talk, in the way that you hear other people talk to you or in between themselves. You might be witnessing somebody else's conversation. You might be witnessing dialogue on a show or a movie. Look for those components of value judgment, moralistic judgment. If you're getting tired of hearing this, start saying it out loud, because we need to keep reiterating it. There's a lot of information, and every time we watch something on TV or hear people talk, we are getting indoctrinated with violent communication that's full of blame and judgment and guilt. So it's okay to be repeating it this much, because I'm telling you, we have a lot of momentum to work against, okay? It's not normal for our brain to think this way. So comparisons, and oh goodness, this is a lot, right? So this last part, language that lacks responsibility. That's the big one. So let's go over that list one more time, okay? Vague and personal forces, I had to. Except this time I think I'll add some examples of sometimes, let's see here. So like I had to go to work. I talk with my clients about this a lot. I have to go to work, right? Sometimes that doesn't feel good when we say it that way, when it feels like we're being oppressed, when it feels like we're doing something that we don't want to do, right? So how does that change when we say, I go to work because I appreciate having a car, because having a car is convenient and it really works for me, which I don't really have a car, but, or going to work allows me to live in the apartment that I like, in the neighborhood that feels safe. Like, what would it be like if we say, I go to work so I can live in a safe apartment, so I can go to bed at night? Again, totally different feeling, right? Yes, this is what you're going to get with NVC. You're going to get a totally different feeling. So that's vague and personal forces. Actions of others. The example I used was, well, if you'd gone to the club with me, I wouldn't have had to cheat on you. If you were there, I wouldn't have picked somebody else, right? That's horrible. Instead of saying, well, and that could have been the reason, right? Like, I want a partner who is going to share experiences with me. So the person that uses that language, who uses that excuse of, well, if you'd gone to the club with me, I wouldn't have had to cheat on you, really isn't connecting. They're not doing themselves a favor either, are they? Wow, that was fun. Either are they? Anyway, sorry. Because they're not really connecting with the fact that they don't have a partner right now that is interested in doing the same things as them, and that's what they truly want and need, right? So they're being stuck in that situation that they're not happy with. So there's a lot of mess to unravel with the way we talk. And this is going to get us to look at our needs and our values, and help with our emotional well-being, right? And communication. Okay. The dictates of authority. I lied to the client because the boss told me to. I'm just going to give the look for that. This is like, gosh, I don't know if I dare go into that mind frame to try to come up with an example. If you have one, you can always type one in the comments. Help me out here. So I lied to the client because the boss told me to. Okay, that one can be turned into, I lied to the client because I wanted to keep my job, and I knew that if I didn't lie to the client, I wouldn't be able to keep my job. So on one point it's valid, but it also owns, I'm taking responsibility for that. Hey, that wasn't too hard or scary. I was worried. I was like, what's this example going to sound like? But do you see the difference though? I'm owning it. I'm saying I chose to lie because I was directly affected in this way, and I'm going to take responsibility for that. I wanted to keep my job. My job is important to me. So that's, I like that. Group pressure. I started smoking because all my friends did, and that right there is kind of a, I wanted to fit in. It met my need for inclusiveness. It met my need for, that we have to really admit that we are in some dark places, right? If I'm being peer pressured, maybe I'm feeling I don't have enough self-esteem. I have to look at that to know. And sometimes we don't want to see that. So denial of responsibility is denial, right? So you're going to find some stuff out about yourself that I'm hoping you're going to give yourself lots of love and support through this process. So then institutional policies, rules, and regulations. Again, we kind of went over this. There are consequences for certain reasons, but it's when we hide behind those consequences without that empathetic connection of, well, you did this, you're going to get what you deserve. Like, it's a very harsh way. Instead of saying there's a need for the kids at the school to feel safe when they come to school, and you are not meeting that need, and there's a need for us to know that we can trust you when you come back, so we're going to expel you to give you time to think about it and hope that creates, you see, it's just different, a totally different communication. Gender roles, social roles, or age roles. Again, I hate going to work, but I do it because I'm a husband and a father. So this applies to the first one, right? I hate going to work because I'm too afraid to find a job that I really love. It's hard to say that about yourself, right? Or I hate going to work because I've been looking for a new job and one hasn't come yet. let's see, this one is talking about being a husband and a father. We might find that a lot in Salt Lake. Well, actually, no, and in Iowa too. But again, that's just hiding behind the surface. That's not really, we're not just a husband or father. We're who we are before anybody else came along, right? Uncontrollable impulses. I was overcome by my urge to eat the candy bar. So we're giving all our power to that candy bar, man, instead of just like, I feel empty inside, and when I eat a candy bar, I feel better, because guess what? There's sugar in that candy bar, and it does. It gives you a little bit of feel good for a minute. But it's hard to say that about ourselves. It's hard to recognize that we are in distress in that way, emotional distress. So denial usually comes in when we don't want to see something, obviously, right? Thanks for stating the obvious, Denise. But we can replace the language that implies lack of choice with language that acknowledges choice. That's probably going to be homework for the following week, right? We're gonna observe all of these other components, and then we're gonna start shifting the balance into what can we replace them with. How does that sound? I'm going to read this. It's very true. We are dangerous when we are not conscious of our responsibility for how we behave, think, and feel. Right? Very, very true. There's a line in a Hall & Oates song, and he says, what is it? Something about, it's easy to hurt others when you feel no pain. And I just thought, that's true, but what's really happening is it's easy to hurt others when all you feel is pain, right? Because happy people do happy things and miserable people do miserable things. That's just metaphysics. And so when we're in denial of where we are, it's really easy to walk all over ourselves and walk all over other people. All right, so let's see, how are we doing on time? Okay, wow, that was a lot to cover in just half an hour. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or experiences that they want to share? Because I'd love to dialogue some more, and you might even be putting comments on. I better look to see if there's any comments here, because I'm doing this on my phone. I noticed on some other videos, okay, not other videos, I only have 3 videos at this point. This is my 4th. The 2 that I did on my laptop were insanely loud. And the last one that I did on my phone was a lot nicer. So I've decided not to use my laptop anymore. But the problem is, I'm concerned I'm not going to be able to see the comments. I can see that 2 people are watching. Let me turn my laptop on. Please bear with me. Think about the questions that you have, and maybe I'll pick up on them psychically. That would be a fun experiment, huh? And I'll get my laptop up to see if I can get comments on that, because right now I don't see any comments. So if you guys are writing comments, it is not showing up. But I'm glad that you're here, Janice and Nathan. It's good to see you. Guess what, Nathan? I'm coming to Iowa, July 14th to August 11th, and Janice, I'm coming to Utah. Let's see, September 1st to the 8th. So I think I'm going to be seeing clients, I think on like the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th. That's the weekend, and I know you like Thursday, so get a hold of me. We'll get that. I know it's quite a ways away, huh? I hope things are getting better with the pandemic by then. Let me log into my Facebook here, and I'm going to pull up the live feed and just see what's happening. So I hope I've been giving you guys something to think about as far as nonviolent communication and how it can really change where you put your focus and where you look at a situation. Okay. Thank you for supporting my improved quality of life page. This is the kind of stuff that I want to get out here. Some nonviolent communication. I want to get out some talking about codependency. A lot of what I see in our culture, right? Movies, oh, I can't live without you. You are the sole source of my happiness thing. All right, let's see here. Should have like a live. I think I know what's going on now. Give me a minute. I have to actually go from a different Facebook account, not the one that I'm actually broadcasting from. So I'm going to go to my personal Facebook for my friends and family. And I'm going to look at this from there, I guess. How do I log out? I'm sorry, guys. This is taking up time. Trying to think of what I can do before then while I'm doing this, but it's taking a lot more focus than what I expected. Let's try this another way. There's going to be a little bit of quiet so I can do this faster. All right. And there might be a little self-talk here. Ooh, and some water. Everybody, cheers. It's hydration. All right, so I need to log out. This computer is slow. When I see the computer, and even slow in itself is a judgment, right? When it takes 5 to 6 seconds for my page to load, I feel frustrated because it doesn't meet my need for efficiency. There's some nonviolent communication for you. Right? Oh, here we go. Log out. I'm almost there, guys. Let me see if I can come up with some more, or in the interim, see if you guys can come up with a couple of those. Let's see, an account. All right, let's do this. Let's see, what's my other one? I entered an old password. It shows you how long it's been since I logged in. Oh, that's not quite right. This is gonna be a crapshoot right now. Oh, second try. Yes. Okay. Now I just gotta get to this page quickly, quick like lightning. Uh-oh, what's happening? All right, so now I need to go to my pages because of course I've liked my own page. Support myself. Let's see here. Or I can search it, improved. There it is. And we might get some double. Here it should say like, oh, here we go. I have to go into it and then I'll see me. This is quite entertaining if you watched my other videos of me seeing myself doing a live broadcast. So there I am. I'm live right now. Okay, so let's see if there's comments here. Oh, oops. I'm gonna push play. Here we go. Huh, I don't know what's happening. Let's see, I'll give it a minute. Interesting. Try that again. Here we go. Try this. Ah, there we go. That looks better. I can see some kind of comments. Yay, 2 comments. Milo. Okay, so Milo has some input here about using the workbook, which I have. Oh, again, backwards. Sorry, guys. So let's read the workbook, shall we? Thanks. That's a great and helpful suggestion. That meets my need for collaboration and support. Thank you. Let's see. So just in case you're getting a little bit frazzled about all these needs, there's a whole chapter in the book about different needs and emotions. So you're not going to have to come up with them. Well, there's still a limited list, right, in the whole entire human vocabulary, but it'll give you a good jumping off point. So don't stress out about that, okay? So this one talks about keeping a notebook or a computer or a voice recorder on your phone, or even just like a memo pad to record the responses, as well as to the exercises, responses to the examples that I'm bringing up, as well as any ideas, feelings, and needs. Woohoo! We are going to be some masters identifying our feelings, needs, and values. Yeah! That occur to you in the course of your study. Let's see. So this NVC workbook also teaches you how to practice alone. You can use this workbook alone or as a group. And there goes my battery light, right? We talked about this earlier. Now we know. All right, so now I got to try to figure out how to prop this bad boy up. And I think I did. Look at that. It's hairy-carry at best, guys. This phone is going to stay. Let's find out another way here. Oh, I got it. Watch. We'll just do it upside down. Or not. Never mind. All right. Let's see. All right. Sorry, guys. Fiddling around. It'll be much better next time. It was kind of... That's why we do this, right? Getting better. Yeah, look at that. Yay. Okay. So let's go back to the workbook here. This workbook, you can practice alone. You can practice in a group. So you can use this workbook for either scenario. If you want to do more than just this once a week, this is how to do it. So, okay. Let me just glean real quick. All the stuff that I've highlighted in the past. Okay. So this is more about how to do this for a group. Let me go pass this into the exercises. Okay, so chapter 1, it has an exercise for giving from the heart. So other than the homework that I've already given you, your homework, should you choose to accept it. And this is going to teach you, or hopefully reinforce what we're talking about, right? Is to identify. Okay, so I'm seeing some more comments here that I missed before. Sorry guys, my attention's a bit divided. Milo, I'll come back to you with that here in a minute. So we already talked about homework of, well, I guess we could have a lot of homework right now, right? We know the 4 components. Say it with me, you've got it down. When I observe, I feel this, and it does or does not meet my need, and then a request. So we have observation, feeling, need, request. Those are the 4 proponents of NVC. And then the difference for this week, we're going to look at the difference between observation. Well, it's more of just identifying judgment in its many forms, right? Between on the TV, when it comes out of your mouth, and it will, and when it comes into your ear, or when you're just seeing it between 2 other people, right? So this is going to help us to get less reactive and more responsive. That's our homework for the week. So we can add this to if we want, or we can do one or the other. And this is a request. And how do you know that? Right? You won't know that until, well, you'll know that by how I react if you do or don't do it. So, it's about giving from the heart is the exercise this one recommends. Let me read it to you real quick. I'm sorry, not quite there. Okay, here it is. This is the activity. Okay. Blast, this isn't quite what I was looking for. Give me a minute. I've done this before, so I know in here. Okay. So this week we're going to think about a time where we either did something we're going to come up with a story of our own during this week about a time where we hold on, I remember doing this before, and it was talking about identifying the difference between giving, like doing something when we don't really want to, so saying yes when we mean no, and the difference when it feels like when we're actually giving from the heart because we want to, and not out of obligation or guilt or duty. So this is kind of not what we've been talking about with the first two chapters. So I'm wondering, I feel like this doesn't coincide with the chapters that we're doing right now, and that this will pick up later. So I'm going to forego this for a minute, and next week I'll have looked into both of them better so I can synchronize them. So get the workbook if you want. It's not going to keep you from doing your own self-discovery. Again, this is just once a week for an hour, so there's a lot of information in this book, and there's a lot of deprogramming to be done. Okay, so just to glean ahead here, at the end of this, I'm going to go over a quick summary. So right now, I'm going to give you a preview. Chapter 3 is where we're going to go. I don't know if this dynamic is really going to allow for covering a chapter a week, because not everybody is really able to answer questions. So we might still be on chapter 2 next week. Maybe I'll just pick some personal examples to go over and share and deconstruct. But chapter 3 is observing without evaluating. So it's not just about judgment. Now we're going to evaluation and analyzing, which is more of the assumption part of our brain. Okay, that's chapter 3. So here I'm going to turn to chapter 4. Chapter 4 is where we get into identifying and expressing feelings. And so what I wanted to show you was and this is going to be backwards. Be ready. These are some of the feelings. And then we get into the plethora. Look at all those. Look at all of them. Backwards and all, and then another page. So that's all of the feelings that you're going to have access to start with. And that's its own homework. So don't get, you're not going to have to come up with it all on your own. And then 5 is taking responsibility for our feelings. And how we do that is, that's where the giving from the heart is going to come. This is where we're going to get into our needs. And see, it's got some lists here. It talks about autonomy, choosing one's dreams, goals, and values. Celebration, to celebrate losses, loved ones, dreams. Integrity, interdependence, play, spiritual communion, physical nurturance. So like, I value shelter, I value touch, I value love, I need reassurance, respect, support, trust. So please get this book if you don't have it. It's not really that complicated. It just helps to have somebody so that you can hear it. We're not really good at taking away, we're not good at observing. When I had to do a lab experiment where I gave instructions on how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And at first it was really hard. And then as I was doing lab work and recognizing like, oh, take a 10 milliliter beaker and fill it to 6 milliliters with this. And we get into that, oh, observe. You know, open up the bag of bread, grab a piece of bread out, grab a butter knife, you know, like all that stuff. That's what it's like to learn how to use nonviolent communication. It feels foreign. Okay, so I recently, don't ask me why, I was watching, because there was nothing else to do, I was watching Lincoln the Vampire Hunter movie, right? Don't judge. Just observe. And it somehow got stuck on the caption for the blind, right? So it was like, Abraham opens the door and walks into the storefront where a man is filing keys. Like, that's observing. So if you really want to hear it, you can get on a DVD and put on, if it has an option for the seeing, seeing impaired, and it has a language option for that. That will get you in the mindset of observation. So there you go. That's your Cliff Notes for it. It was so frustrating, but it was very interesting. Okay, so it's about that time. Let's go over it one last time. You can do it. The 4 principles of nonviolent communication are: observation, feeling, need, and request. And then your homework this week is to know the difference, identify the different forms of judgment. So you have judgment, you have moralistic judgments versus value judgments. You've got comparisons, and you've got language that defers responsibility, so lack of responsibility. And those are, I'm going to get my book out because it's a long list. I don't know that I'll get them all. There it is. Vague and personal forces. I had to. Actions of others. You made me. The dictates of authority. It's the law. Group pressure. Institutional policies, rules, and regulations. Gender roles, social roles, or age roles. Uncontrollable impulses. Where do we give up our power? So a good one for that is, I mean, I've been seeing that a lot on Facebook about people not wanting to wear masks, and this is where it again goes into that, how are you looking at the world? How are you relating to the world, right? It can feel very real for me to feel like if I don't wear a mask, I'm going to be punished. When, well, I don't want to get into all that. Let's not get into all that. So different value, it's tough when value judgments become moralistic judgments. That's what's tough. Because I guess we have to break down what is morality, right? I mean, you all know that I believe in God and I'm spiritual. I'm not really too religious, but how, and this is just existential, so please be open if you can, be open-minded to the idea. How do we know what moralism is? I don't feel good when I mean, I certainly don't want to kill anybody, and if I saw somebody being killed, it would bother me. Like, I think as a group we can value life, right? Like the example that I gave earlier. I've always thought the 10 Commandments could be given as value, like value life, value honesty. What was the other one? Like all of the 10 Commandments, instead of being in a negative, can be turned into value, you know? Like don't adulterize would be value marriage, value connection with other people, right? So anyways, I forgot where I was going with that. So try to identify judgment in all of those forms. And then it looks like, oh, demands, right? Also demands. And you know the difference between a demand and a request is how you are treated after you say no or yes. Sometimes, again, we get that extra manipulative praise or something's not giving from the heart, something that is meant to be extra. Okay, let's see. And then chapter 3 is where we're going to go from judgment and observation to assumption and observation, right? Then we're going to start looking at how we make assumptions. Okay, so be prepared for that. And thank you so much for supporting me. I will be seeing you guys soon, I'm sure. So just FYI for my practice, I am wearing an N95 mask. I haven't personally looked at statistics. From what I understand, if both people are wearing masks, it's better. And my father does have COPD, so please keep that in mind. And I will be staying with him, and I will most likely be wearing a mask the whole time I'm with him, just because that's what feels good for me. And it's just not worth it for me to be the person that would get my father sick. So anyways, thank you. And please share this video with your friends. I'd love to have more participants. Again, if I get more people involved, I would love to do like a 30-minute review or an hour review, and then have like a actual video chat where people can talk and share if they want. That would be a lot more productive, honestly, because then it would give you a chance to be like, I think I'm saying this right, but I'm not sure. And then you say it, and then I can say it. And then we can all collectively identify and help each other practice and grow. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm loving it, and I'll be a little bit more prepared next week, too. So thank you. And God bless. Blessings. Be safe.